Welcome to Freedom to Fuel, the 5-minute talk show that will energize how you think about your utilities. Brought to you by Huntsville Utilities and the American Public Gas Association. Coming to you this week from the St. Croix room of the Minneapolis City Center Marriott. I'm Todd Long with the Huntsville Utilities Orchestra, introducing your host, the Colonel, John Olszewski.
Thanks again.
Thank you,
Todd,
sir.
we're getting good at this. You know, there's a staff at American Public Gas that I've been blessed to work with for 7 years now. Anyway, I just went out there and I grabbed the man, the CEO, president of American Public Gas Association, who I've known for 8 years now, and asked Dave to come on in. And so Dave's here.
But he's been with the APGA for much longer.
How many years have you been with the APGA?
Been with them for over 15 years. Took over as CEO in 2019. We had one board meeting, and then we had COVID. So the first 3 years were challenging, but it's been fun. I have a great team, as you mentioned, Audrey and the other staff. So I've been blessed in that.
You are truly blessed in that. So what were you doing before you came to APGA?
Before I came to APGA, I worked for APPA. So same members, but on the electric side for 2.5 years. Before that, I worked for Colorado Springs Utilities, which is a 4-service, water, wastewater, gas, electric, city-owned utility in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And before that, I worked on Capitol Hill for 7 years for a senator from Louisiana.
And who was that?
John Breaux.
Wow. So you got the right kind of background to lead. I as soon to be chairman and sitting in on the discussions when we talk about you, and do we want to keep him or do we not? The answer is yes. We love this guy. We love his team. We love the team he's built. We love how you're planning your succession planning. We love all of that, Dave. We really appreciate what you do. So with that, I've been asking the guests. I said, what do you think about the Freedom to Fuel theme for this year? What do you think about it?
I love it. I mean, I was with you and Audrey in D.C. I think the magazine cover she picked for this is your first magazine is great. It's not going to come across on a podcast, but it's online. You can look at APGA, the source. It's got a picture of the flag. When I think of Freedom to Fuel, you talk about electrification. I think it's about giving consumers the freedom to choose what type of appliance they want in their house. If they want a natural gas cooktop, they should be able to get a natural gas cooktop. Wow. If they want natural gas heat, natural gas water heat, they should be able to get that. If they want electric, they should be able to get that as well. If they want renewable, they can get that. But it's about giving consumers a choice to make their own decisions.
Well, you know what? We haven't said that on the other ones. Every one of them had their own little way, but he's the first one. Of course, we would think you would say this. If you want a dryer, gas dryer, you ought to be able to have a gas dryer.
Absolutely.
And that's the whole point of the Freedom to Fuel. I don't want you to kill us with it, but the furnace rule. Just give me a little version of the furnace rule.
Sure. And this is it's been an issue that APGA has worked on for going back to 2011 now, when the Obama administration came out with a direct final rule that would have imposed new standards on furnaces for northern states. Now, with furnaces, you have two types of furnaces. You have condensing and non-condensing. And to get an appliance efficiency rate of 90% or greater, you have to have a condensing furnace. And the issue with condensing furnaces is they have different venting than non-condensing. So if it's a new construction, it's not an issue because you can build the construction appropriately for the venting it requires. But if you're living in a row house, a condo, and you're forced to switch from a non-condensing to a condensing, you add the venting cost, which can be excessive because you can't vent out the side because your neighbors aren't going to like that. You can't vent out to the sidewalk. Sometimes you got to go to the chimney. You add $1,000, $2,000 of venting costs under the cost of the appliance replacement. And if you're going paycheck to paycheck, which a lot of people are right now, you're going to switch to electric because that's what you can afford right now to keep your family warm. And at the end of the day, the electric's much less efficient on a full fuel cycle basis, and it's also going to cost you more on a monthly basis. So the Biden administration in the past couple of weeks came out with a new rule. It's a condensing standard of 95 AFUE, so a condensing standard for the whole nation. And it's an issue for us because we think consumers are making the right decisions right now. We're in Minnesota, and most people in Minnesota already have condensing furnaces because it's a tough winter, it's sensitive to heating costs, you want efficient heat, so you already made that decision to switch to condensing if you can. Now, if you're in Orlando, Florida, you probably have a non-condensing because it doesn't make sense to put a condensing in your house because it's much more expensive. So what we think the answer is really is two different standards, one for condensing, one for non-condensing. Let the consumers choose the appliance that's right for them.
This is important. This is every bit of what I'm trying to talk about on theme.
Yeah.
You know, choice, freedom to choose condensing or non-condensing. Freedom, but we're not interested in forcing somebody to go spend a boatload of money, just like you just talked about.
And it's important because, if you switch to electric on a full fuel cycle basis, when you take that energy out of the ground, whatever it is, renewable, whatever, you take it to the generator, you take it to the transmission line, distribution line, get it to your house, you're losing 2/3 of that energy generally. Natural gas, you take that gas molecule out of the ground, you put it in the pipeline, get it to your house, you're utilizing 92% of that energy, so you're only losing 8%. So natural gas is 3 times more efficient than electric generally.
So anyway,
I just want to throw out there are probably some utility people out there who work for a gas utility that may not, a public gas utility that may not be a member of the APGA. And I just, want to say you should be. If you're not, you should be if your utility is not a member of it. And if you want to learn more about the APGA, you can go to apga.org. And if you want to be a member, there's a nice big membership icon right there on the homepage. Click that, and they'll get in touch with you. Because I've only been in the utility industry for about 5 years now. And, if it weren't for the APGA, I'd be wandering around lost most of the time.
Well,
which I probably am anyway. Most of the time,
you're not. But we use you and Amanda and your team to help Dave. Dave's very, he likes the fact we helped with safety videos. We did a lot of things that you guys did.
And Dave and Aaron and Audrey and Stuart and everybody on the team are just constantly. I mean, these guys never rest. I hear from them on the weekends. I get tons of information from them, and they are out there just really working for the public gas industry. And it's
So Dave, I'll leave it at this. I'm looking forward to the next year, but I've been enjoying it the whole time. You guys, you're a get after it group of people. Back to your point about joining APGA, it's very important to join APGA. We're going to fight this fight without them joining or not. But the more we have people joining, it keeps the cost down in our membership. It gives us an opportunity to help the little guy. The people that only got a couple of meters versus Philadelphia has 500,000.
Yep.
So Dave, thanks for your time with us. Looking forward to the next year and appreciate all you do.
Thank you for having me. It'll be fun.
All right.
And
good.
I would like to know what you think about how the Stanley Cup played out.
Well, as Todd knows, I'm a hockey guy. I've hung out my skates last year. Both my boys still play. My oldest does travel in high school hockey. My youngest does travel in middle school hockey. I was pulling for the Avalanche. Tampa Bay had won 2 cups. I grew up in Cleveland. I was born in '65, and in my lifetime, the city's had 1 championship. So 3 in a row is a bit excessive. I was pulling for Colorado, and I lived in Colorado Springs for 5 years, so I do have some loyalty to the Avalanche.
Well, appreciate you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Freedom to Fuel is produced by Huntsville Utilities in cooperation with the American Public Gas Association, and the views expressed by the host and guests do not necessarily reflect those of HU or the APGA, though I'm pretty sure this episode it did. Our audio-video engineer is Amanda Thompson-Kemp with assistance from Chad, the summer intern, and additional production elements provided by Jeffrey Long. If you have a comment or question, post it in the comments below because we haven't gotten around to making an email address yet. And remember that oxygen is flowing even if the mask does not inflate.